Economic times are making it difficult for households to finance their expenses, and whether this triggers shifts or the extent to which this triggers shifts in the businesses catering to a market like this remains to be seen. At the forefront of the business models and costing structures being scrutinized right now are those operating in the education space. And joining me now, Roy Douglas, CEO of Advtech. Roy, thanks so much for your time this evening. So Advtech has had to have been inundated with calls from parents inquiring about fee structures and how that changes with, bulk of the school year now happening at home. Give us a sense of, the very real conversations you're having to have at this stage.
Yes, certainly. Evening, Alicia. It obviously is a concern to a significant number of parents. Private education, of course, is expensive and forms a significant part of consumers' disposable incomes. But what we have done is we are engaging with every single parent who is suffering in terms of hardships and loss of income, and engaging with them in conversations and debates as to how we can make arrangements with regards to payment plans and how we can try and ease and facilitate crossing this sort of very disruptive and unfortunate period. So whilst we have certainly had a number of conversations, at this point in time our focus has also been on sustaining our educational operations, and we've shifted quite seamlessly, in fact, into the online space and continuing to provide academic support online, and that's going particularly well. So I think that parents are appreciative of the fact that we've managed to make that transition quite seamlessly.
That being said, Roy, how at risk is the growth you have been seeing over the recent past? I mean, you reported a solid 2019 full-year performance, but the risk now comes with parents needing to, in fact, pull kids out of your schools because of affordability constraints. Is it getting to that point just yet?
No, not yet, but I do think, we are still at a relatively early stage in the sense of the effects of the disruption. There certainly are people who are concerned, and we have engaged with a significant number of our parents, but it isn't at a point where I would describe it as a crisis at this point in time where people are withdrawing from the system. I think, that will all depend as to how long the period of disruption continues, and that there are some debates and discussions about phasing the opening of schools again, and I think with particular concern to those at the matric and higher grades as they come towards the end of their schooling career and are looking towards their tertiary studies. I think it's important that we try to get back and so that they can complete the academic year. But equally, it applies at the lower grades too, where a number of children, schoolers actually assists parents with childcare whilst they're earning a living. So I think, in essence, as we look to getting the economy back and going again, it's important for schools to be open, and hopefully we can do that in the shorter term rather than in the longer term.
As you say, Roy, you've been thus far able to leverage off some of the investments you have been making in online teaching, and you're trying to keep your syllabus on track for as much as you can. Have you managed to recoup any significant cost savings on your end amidst it all?
No, not really, I'm afraid. We are a very high fixed cost business in a sense, and by far the largest component of our income statement to salaries and wages are the costs of our educators. In fact, there are relatively few savings. We still required, obviously, to keep the premises secured, whilst we can cut back on maintenance, and there certainly are some savings in terms of consumables and some utilities. A lot of our costs are actually fixed. In addition to that, we've obviously incurred some additional costs as we've shifted to online. There have been lesson preparations, material preparations, the data costs, connectivity costs. Our teachers, in fact, our educators, have been working incredibly hard to make the transition online. It is a different mode of delivery, and you'll appreciate it does require different preparations and different material and different delivery. So our teachers, in fact, have been working phenomenally hard as we've made the transition, and they've been fully occupied, and of course all from remote locations. So I'm afraid we are one of those businesses, as I say, with very high fixed costs. The savings that we can actually bring to bear during a period of shutdown are very limited, quite honestly, and obviously there's an expectation that those facilities will be available.
Roy, all of this, unfolding as you've made progress in positioning yourselves in the mid-fee sector, but that's the sector exactly that's going to be feeling the brunt of the pressure right now. So where, previously you boasted a J-curve kind of growth within that market segment, how are you expecting that formation or that growth formation to change?
Yeah, look, I think in a sense, is that we had completed a large part of our expansion plans in any event, and we opened a number of new schools this year, but we had no new school openings going forward. So our focus has actually been on bringing our existing facilities up to higher levels of capacity utilization. I do understand there's going to be an impact, but quite honestly, children require education, and at the age of 6, they need to go to school, and what we have to do is be very mindful of the affordability issue, and we have, as I think we've discussed in some of our previous interviews, talked about us looking at educational productivity. How do we make sure that we offer real value?
Yeah.
And in that sense, we've been bringing a lot of changes to bear in our business: consolidation, rationalization of our administration and support functions so that we can drive efficiencies and synergies and cost savings there, all with a view to trying to provide the best possible value we can. But as I say, children will need to be educated. We have to be very mindful of the affordability. We've actually been cognizant of that for a while. I think I was listening to your previous speaker talk about how the economy was in a very difficult stage before we entered the COVID-19 crisis. So we've been mindful of the pressure that the consumer is under, and all of our efforts are geared towards trying to deliver the best value we can and being extremely mindful of affordability.
Let's leave it there. Roy, thanks so much for having joined us on the line this evening. Roy Douglas is CEO of Advtech. After the break,